Hello, my name is Jessamy Carlson and I am the Family and Local History Engagement Lead at the National Archives in Kew. We get a lot of inquiries about family history and a lot of inquiries about where to begin, so we're putting together a short series of videos that will help you get started. The purpose of this video is to give you some quick pointers about how you might begin to look into your family history or to research an individual if you haven't done it before. So to begin with, you don't need any fancy equipment or particular technology to start with. The important thing is to start with what you know, and the way that I like to do this is to make notes. You could do this in a notebook by hand or in a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. My motto when it comes to family history is to prove what you think you know. You may be absolutely certain about your own date of birth or when your parents were born, but do you know the dates of birth of your grandparents, for example? Do you know the details of their brothers and sisters or their parents? This is also a really good opportunity to interview members of your family, if you can, if that's an option available to you, about what they remember about the older generations of your family, and most importantly, to write all of this down. So there are certain key points in an individual's life where they interact with the state, and these are good places to begin. So births, marriages and deaths are the common events in most people's lives, and this is where I would usually start. So, things it is useful to have a think about. When was someone's birthday? What was their date of birth? Where were they born? Did they get married? To whom? Where did they get married? Was it in a church or a synagogue or a registry office or somewhere else? Did they elope? Are they still married? When did they die? Do you know where? Do you know where they're buried? Is there any information on their gravestone? Was there a will? Acquiring the certificates for births, marriages and deaths are a good way to begin any kind of research for an individual. Civil registration began in 1837, and before that you'll need to look at parish records. If you're looking at births, marriages and deaths prior to approximately 1985, there's an excellent website called freebmd.org.uk which allows you to search for civil registration entries in England and Wales, and you can also search the General Registry Office indexes through their website www.gro.gov.uk, where you can also order copies of certificates for a small fee. So if you hear people talk about the GRO, the General Register Office, this is what they mean. If you're interested in Scottish ancestors, I suggest that you look at the Scotland's People website and that of the National Records of Scotland in Edinburgh. It is worth noting that the civil registration is not completely infallible, and sometimes there are errors or misinformation. People do not always have the right information or occasionally not necessarily tell the truth. So what extra information might you find in a civil registration certificate? So on a birth certificate, you will usually find the exact date of birth and the place, by which I mean the street address, as well as the parents' names, including the mother's maiden name and the occupation of the father if he is listed. On a marriage certificate, you will find the place and the date of the marriage, which will also allow you to determine what type of ceremony they might have had. It will list the name and the occupation of the bride and groom and of their fathers, or possibly note whether their father is deceased. It will also list the address of the bride and groom. The witnesses to the marriage could also be included. These could be friends, colleagues, or sometimes siblings, and you will also see the signatures, or if they could not write or sign their names, you'll sometimes see a cross or an X instead. On a death certificate, you'll find the date and place of death and the cause. It will also include the full name of the deceased and their occupation, and details of who registered the death. And if the death has been investigated by the coroner for any reason, then this will also be recorded. The main top tip I want to give you is to write everything down. When you're working out what you think you know about a person or a family, cite your sources. It will be so much easier in the long run if you have some notes in some format you can refer back to. Once you have some of these details, you could then have a time frame to work around and you can start to fill in the details. And if you are aware of some of this information already, being able to confirm it is really helpful. So, I hope that's been useful in getting you started. There are lots of research guides on our website, which is nationalarchives.gov.uk, which are full of useful information too, and I wish you the very best of luck with your research.